everybody hear me? I'm Wendy Simonis. I'm the Director of Pupil Services here for the Tomahawk School District. And we have Teresa Brzezinski. She's the Director of Curriculum, actually Teaching and Learning, we changed it. Teaching and Learning. Denise Peisig, our elementary counselor. Dawn Huseby, our middle school counselor. And Dan Ryder is our high school counselor. And so we wanted to, do you have the clicker? Oh, I thought you had it in your hand. Okay, so we're gonna get started tonight. Your clicker does not work.
Oh, I shut it off.
Okay, you're clicking.
I'll be your clicker.
Be my clicker. Okay, so for tonight, so the things we're gonna talk about, we're gonna give a brief summary about how we look at our SEL curriculum process and the selection. So we're gonna talk about what is social emotional learning and what is our curriculum review process, our timeline for selecting a curriculum, and then opportunities for community, parents, staff, and different stakeholders to become involved. So those are the areas we're gonna cover tonight. She's not clicking for me, she said she would. Oh, you did, it didn't go back. Okay, so a couple years ago, the district came up with a strategic plan with input of the community, and these columns are the areas that they identified. So we have teaching and learning, whole student, community engagement, district workforce operational excellence. So our social emotional curriculum fits into the category of our whole student, but it also impacts our teaching, learning, and relevance. And it continues to go on through our community engagement and communication. And that's why we're having this informational setting tonight, so that members of the community, parents, staff, board members, business owners are able to hear some of the things that we're doing in our schools. So, and then our district workforce, the social emotional learning leads into students and staff health and how we do our jobs and function in a setting, and our community health as well, and how as adults and when our kids come up, what do we want them to know? So it all ties into that. So the definition of social emotional learning, I'm not gonna read the whole PowerPoint to you, but this slide I will, just so that we are clear on what that is. So social emotional learning is an integral part of educational and personal development. SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, attitudes to develop healthy self-concept, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals, feel and show empathy for others, and establish and maintain supportive relationships and make responsible and caring decisions. So we take all that and connect it back to that strategic plan, and what did the community, when they developed that strategic plan with us, tell us that they wanted our students that come out of Tomahawk schools to know when they come out? What skills do we want them to have? So CASEL is, give me that abbreviation, what does it stand for again? CASEL.
It's not going to come to me off the top of my head.
I can't think of it right now. Dawn, do you remember what CASEL stands for?
It's long.
I have to Google it. Anyways, it's a recognized organization with evidence-based practices that is recognized through the nation on the standards through what adults should know, students should know as they go through the school process and come out into the world and workforce and community. So there's 5 areas that looks at. So it's self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, responsible decision-making. And that's what we want adults, coworkers, students at all levels to be able to understand and demonstrate from the time they're in kindergarten and the time they're out working for our businesses in our community. So this graphic shows how all of us work together to create that community through those social competencies. So if you look in the middle, here's social emotional learning on the white circle that we're talking about tonight, those 5 components of the previous slide that CASEL talked about, and then how does that connect to our schools, our community, and our classrooms. So we've linked a little video to explain that briefly.
Think about the young people in your lives and all the different places where they're learning about themselves, how to relate to others, and work together on goals. How can we intentionally create learning experiences that will help all young people develop and maintain positive relationships, become lifelong learners, and contribute to a more caring, just world? Educators, researchers, community members, families, and the students themselves agree what we need is social and emotional learning, or SEL. SEL is the process through which young people and adults acquire and apply the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that help us to understand ourselves, connect with others, achieve our goals, and support our communities. We all need opportunities to learn and engage in environments where we feel safe, valued, and a sense of belonging. So how does SEL help schools, families, and communities work together so that all young people have these kinds of learning experiences and achieve success in education, careers, and life? CASTLE's framework identifies 5 areas of competence that together help us develop a healthy sense of who we are, manage stress, understand the views of others, and work together to create schools and communities where everyone can grow their strengths and interests. Self-awareness is about how we think about ourselves and who we are. It includes understanding our culture, our thoughts, feelings, and what we believe we're capable of, and understanding how these things can influence our behaviors and beliefs. Self-management is the ability to manage those emotions, thoughts, and actions in different situations so that we can achieve individual and collective goals. This includes coping with stress and anxiety, persevering through challenges, and taking action to create positive change. Social awareness is how we understand others, how we learn to take different perspectives and empathize even with people who are different from us. It also includes understanding how the broader norms and systems around us influence how we develop and create a sense of belonging. Relationship skills are how we connect and engage effectively with others, and how we form lasting friendships and connections. This includes communicating clearly, solving problems together, managing conflict and disagreements, and standing up for ourselves and the rights of others. Lastly, responsible decision-making is how we put it all together to make caring and constructive choices. This includes thinking critically about consequences, analyzing the impact of our actions on ourselves and others, and identifying solutions that support our collective well-being. We continue to develop and practice SEL throughout our lives and can adapt and apply these competencies across different contexts and cultures. How we develop SEL is impacted by our environments, which is why we need to work together across classrooms, schools, families, and communities. In the classroom, students can be explicitly taught SEL skills and also can practice and apply SEL during core subjects, like discussing different perspectives in social studies and language arts, or collaboratively problem solving in science or math. SEL is most effective when supported by evidence-based programs and trusting relationships where students are treated as partners in their learning. Beyond the classroom, SEL can be intentionally promoted throughout the school experience, from the way they're greeted in the morning to how discipline practices are carried out and how adults themselves develop and model positive relationships and the SEL competencies. Outside of school, families and caregivers provide the earliest and ongoing learning and interactions for their children, so it's important that schools listen to and authentically partner with families to help shape SEL priorities and strategies for supporting their children. Similarly, when schools partner with community organizations to align their efforts, SEL opportunities can be strengthened and students benefit even more. With SEL, we can help create schools and learning spaces where all young people feel connected, inspired, engaged, and ready to contribute to the world around them.
Okay, so that's just a brief overview on the whole overall concept of what is social emotional learning and why we have it in schools and why it's important to our community. So as we continue to go on, Again, we focus on those 5 categories. It's about relationship building, it's about communicating your needs, understanding how to interact with each other and work collaboratively within your classroom, within your school, and between school partnerships and the community and in your workplace when you've been done, and how students can evidence that through what they've learned through school.
I'm trying to exit the full screen. Not very successful. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you can skip the next slide. I think we're past that one. Okay, you can go to the next one. So what does research tell us about social emotional learning? So when we look at adopting a curriculum, we use evidence-based resources. Currently, we're using a second step program through 4K through 8th grade, but through our strategic plan, we need to address the whole child at all levels. So as we review all curriculums, social studies, science, math, art, any curriculum, every few years we review what are we using, is it working, what should we do differently. So that's why we're here tonight, to involve community in that. So we will get to the point where we're going to talk about what does the research say and why are we doing this, and then invite community partners in that. So the research tells us that when you have successful social emotional learning curriculum and structures in your school, 29% of students feel like their school is a supportive environment. 83% make academic gains when participating in these programs. So that's what we want. We want our kids to feel good about themselves, be able to feel safe in the school community, contribute, and be successful academically. 11% average gain on standardized tests. So when we do that standardized testing every year, it can improve scores. It leads to improved behavior and attitudes towards school and prevent substance abuse. And there's also can be an 11% increase in GPA for participants in some SEL programs. So what does that all mean? As a community, what do we want our kids to know, communicate, and do? So how do we want them to be able to interact, communicate their needs in the workplace, in their classroom, with their peers, problem solve, and how do they know that? So that's why we select a curriculum. So if you could talk to somebody next to you, what is one thing that if you could pick one skill that all young people would have by the time they left Tomahawk schools, what would that one skill be that you wish any student would have? Share it with somebody near you. The ability to communicate. So that comes very important if I'm an employer and I have somebody come apply for a job, and how do I communicate my strengths, my weaknesses? What do I need help in reminding? How do you support me through that? You know, any needs and successes. How do you sell your strengths? How do you explain your weaknesses so that you can be successful? Anybody else want to share? Accountability is important. How do you be responsible and accountable for your actions in your school and your community? Nobody else wants to think for themselves. You know, it's okay to understand and listen to other people's perspectives, but it's also important to have your own perspectives and tell other people, yep, this is my opinion. You need to respect that. I'll respect yours. And that's important as well, to be able to communicate that appropriately and successfully and understand that different perspective. Anybody else? Okay, we'll go to the next one. So how does SEL connect with other building goals? So each of our buildings has strategic plan and things that they're working in and goals and targets for students. So we're going to have the counselors come up and share what this could look like in their building.
The microphone is right there. It helps with the recording. Elementary.
So we'll start with the elementary. So at the beginning of the program, we showed what the pillars are. Under each pillar that we're working on, we have building goals. So for example, the whole child pillar, the building of the elementary school has their goal to build and maintain community and a sense of belonging for all elementary students, and establish strong routines. So that's the goal we're working on. If we choose a strong SEL curriculum, we're going to strengthen the positive behaviors through the social life skills such as communication, interpersonal relationships, empathy, and cooperation. So those skills would be strengthened through a positive SEL program. Another pillar was the teaching and learning pillar. Our goal at the elementary was to increase math and literacy achievement and growth. SEL can foster self-management skills. We really focus on self-awareness, responsibility, self-control, and coping skills. And we also are strengthening our learning strategies, such as critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, goal setting, time management, and self-motivation for greater academic achievement. Our communication and community engagement pillar, the elementary's goal is to engage our families and community stakeholders through excellence in communication. A strong SEL program can help our school and community work together on prioritizing the social skills our students need to be successful. And finally, the district workforce pillar, the goal is to attract, retain, and support district staff through increased opportunities to learn together. The SEL program can support staff in developing their classrooms as positive learning experiences and foster the social skills needed to be successful in all academic areas. So that's kind of what the elementary is working on as far as our goals and how SEL plays into that.
Thanks,
A lot shorter than everyone. I'm Dawn Hughesby. I'm the middle school counselor and the shortest one up here. So I looked at this from a different standpoint on what programming we currently have in place so that our stakeholders can process what is currently in place, and then where do we want to go with the program? Do we want to stay with current programming, or do we want to adopt new programming? As always, the building school district is all about creating lifelong learners. From the middle school, we use the Zello program. I hope your kids are coming home and sharing all their profiles with you about what comes up from their interest inventories. And so the Zello program is all about career exploration, but also self-exploration, understanding self. We participate in Play 60, so if you walk around the buildings, you'll see posters of football players. And with that, it's all about promoting healthy lifestyles and life choices. We participated in the Social Norms campaign, which is no longer in existence with Lincoln County, but we are still promoting that program, and that's all about healthy choices, and that most students do the right thing and most students make the right choice in regards to alcohol and drugs. Like was stated before, we do use the second step curriculum, and that is taught by the teachers. It's 3 Mondays a month, and then 1 Monday a month is our PBIS lesson. And within the second step curriculum, all 3 grade levels have the same themed units. It's just within the units, the lessons are tailored to that grade level. So we have mindsets and goals, recognizing bullying and harassment, thoughts and emotions and decisions, and managing relationships and social conflicts. And there's 26 lessons, so that takes us basically throughout the whole school year. So that's all about exploring self, coping, mindfulness, resilience, job skills, life skills. We're PBIS schools, so it's all about promoting social appropriate behaviors. The middle school environment in itself, as any school environment, promotes SEL. We're set up with teams. We have a resource hour. So it's all about supporting our students with whatever needs they have, academic, behaviorally, anything that they need. Looking at clubs, activities, our guest speakers, we try to focus on SEL and what is our current need with our students. We just had 2 guest speakers. I hope I'm not going to take this away from Dan, but we just had 2 great guest speakers came in to talk to the staff, and they're going to be coming in March to talk to the students about grit and resilience and how we can support ourselves and support others around us. And just basically collaborating with mental health providers and counselors to help support not just our students, but also our community.
Thanks, Dawn.
I'm Dan school counselor, been here a little while. I know a few of you. And we do a lot of the similar things and carry on what Denise and Dawn were saying. But the way we weave it in is through something called academic and career planning, and try to help students realize who they are and what they have to offer, because every kid is different. And when they start going through high school, they're going to go different ways and they're going to compare. So we try to include a lot of experiences throughout high school, and they've got to be consumers, and we drill that into their heads. We'll hook them up with whatever services they want. It gets to be a little bit more individualized in high school, you know, and trying to get kids to realize that they are in charge, you know, and they don't have to be who their brother was, that they can do anything they want if they prepare themselves. And our teachers support that with their curriculum. And, you know, kids change, emotions change, anxiety levels are at an all-time high. And I think what SEL does and with academic career planning does is kids find a place for themselves. And our teachers are really good about cooperating with guest speakers, recognizing our students' strengths and helping them act on them. And we have PBIS and we have Zello and we have different meetings and opportunities to honor and respect what every kid's choice is. Not every kid has to go to college. You know, you do what you want to do. You got to be you. And we weave resiliency in there because life is going to throw you things that you're not ready for. And the stuff with SEL, like what Dawn and Denise do now, you know, kids can draw on that when they can look at themselves and say, I've been here before. You know, what can I do to overcome this? And that happens with experience and doing things and finding out there's a place for themselves. Like, for example, yesterday we had the apprenticeship people from Nicolay here to sit down with kids. And some of these kids aren't school kids. They're not going to sit there and want to do English. And have them connect with community members and say, yes, we have a place for you. This is why you're doing that. And I think SEL does a good job with that to kind of realize to manage who they are. So, and that's something we're going to continue, and this is going to kind of help streamline it a little bit. So we'll be around to answer questions later too if you have them. So thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, we're going to move into the process. And this curriculum review process is very similar to any curriculum review process that we do across the district. Right now we're in an elementary math review, and it's very similar. We recognize the need for community involvement in this particular topic because this, you already saw the video. I'm not going to rehash or highlight any of the video. This is the best SEL programs recognize that families are the ongoing teacher for their children, and they're the first teachers, and the best programs work in conjunction with their families in our community. Okay, so we're not replacing anything. We're trying to create the most effective learning environment and produce the most successful kids. So the curriculum review process for this is starting with an informational night so that you are involved to the degree you want to be involved. But it follows the same process that we do for any other content review. So we establish a team. And this team for this curriculum review is going to include people beyond our school walls. So that's the point of this meeting. We will utilize a process for review. Together as a team, once this team is established, we'll build a vision based on the needs. Our counselors have gathered a lot of the data that we have around our students, and we'll identify clearly what our needs are, not just the perception of need, the needs that we have in our local community with our students. So we'll begin the process building a vision based on that data. Then we'll review the evidence-based programs, and you'll see we already have narrowed to 3 because there's only so many evidence-based programs that are out there that are available to us. So that is just getting us in the lane so that we can move forward. Then we will make a selection and plan for implementation yet this year. Then we will move into implementation, and I'm going to show you implementation isn't just boom, there you go. That won't be successful. It's not successful for math, it's not successful for reading, and it certainly won't be successful for SEL. So this is basically a graphic that starts to map out what I just said and then takes it a little further. So phase 1 is this year, that we're going to be selecting a program with a team. And phase 2 is going to be first looking at what does social emotional learning mean for across our system, starting with our adults. So adults learning program and adults thinking about themselves as strong social emotional learners and social emotional leaders for our students. So phase 2 is rolled out in year 1 of implementation with adults, looking at self-care and regulation, and student learning, the program for implementation. So you heard the model of delivery that is currently being done at middle school and high school, and Denise is currently our guidance counselor who is delivering our SEL programming now. So talking about how that will be rolled out is part of the process of this team and part of looking at what does an evidence-based program look like, and the most effective evidence-based programs are across a student's school day. And then phase 3, so we're looking at year 2 of implementation is finally when this is rolled out, the content to students, once we have fully understood it and are familiar, all adults are familiar. Then phase 4 is an ongoing phase. Just like we do with our math or literacy programs or social studies or anything, we look into years 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 6, year 6, and we are constantly evaluating if this is a fit, if this is effective, how do we know, what does our data say, and how does this meet the needs of our students in our location, and how do we know based on data. So we usually are on a 6-year curriculum review cycle, so that's why years 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are constantly analyzing effectiveness, okay? And then we circle back to, do we need to reevaluate? So here are the 3 programs that we have researched already to this point and know are evidence-based programs. And so these are where we'll start with our team in digging in. Ways to be involved, there are multiple ways, because not all of you are going to be able to sit directly on our team. But I just talked with Mr. Quisenberry this week to determine if the district survey is going to be coming out yet this year as part of our process. And we work with My Perceptions, and it's a survey service that is going to be a broad scope across our community and eliciting input. And the survey is broad around district initiatives, but there will be some questions around SEL within the survey. So definitely complete a survey if it comes home to your house. Then stay informed with community updates and ask questions. We're always open to questions. Even though we're going to provide formal opportunities, don't be afraid to ask at any point questions that you have. And Wendy's going to explain in a minute what those formal opportunities are. And then you can, of course, join our working team, which Wendy's going to explain how you can do that.
So who is the team, and how do we build on that process that Teresa just shared about? So we shared those 3 research-based curriculums that we're going to start looking at, and the PowerPoint will be shared on the website so people can click on it and explore them. But the team, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is SEL further in depth, and what is that committee and our district aligned with the strategic plan and the goals for students, what is their vision? Before we start looking in depth at those curriculum, because we want what that vision of this group has to direct how we select that curriculum, rather than trying to make the curriculum, our vision, fit the curriculum. So we have the 3 choices to start with, but we're not going to look at that until like our 3rd meeting, because we want to look at what does our data tell us, how does it align with that strategic plan that our board and our community has told us is important. So we want to analyze that, set up our plan first, and then start seeing, does this match or does it not? So who's on the team? School counselors are on the team, because they drive and are such an integral part of our district and supporting our students and this learning. So they're on it. We will have some teacher representatives. Parents, we want parents on it. We want community members. We want business partners. And then administrators, Teresa and I will be on there, and if other principals want to join us, they may join us as well. But we want 15 to 20 people. We don't want to get too many because then it gets bogged down, but we want about 15-ish to 20 representing at least a couple people from all those groups that we have diverse perspectives.
And to be completely transparent, there are a few community members we've reached out to, and it'll make sense once I tell you. We've reached out, like Patty Hilgendorf, who has been in the community a long time and is the executive director at Kinship and knows our students across multiple lenses. So you can see why we would involve a community organization that serves youth. And then just a few others who we know are very involved with the youth or have been involved in our strategic plan along the way, and we want that lens on the team.
Okay, so the timeline and commitment to be part of that group, so there'll be committee meetings where we'll meet. They are during the school day because we have to have our staff there as part of it, and they have several commitments after school and other curriculums. That is when we would typically review it, would be during the day. So the meetings will be during the day, but because some people may not be able to be part of it then, we will offer an update midway through and at the end for the community so that we can come in a session like this and let people know where we're at in the process. Because we want to make sure everybody.
And there'll be Q&A at both of those as well.
So like I said before, at the first one, we'll be looking at helping all of us understand what SEL is and then reviewing our data from each of our buildings and what our student data is showing us. And then the next week, we take that data, we take our understanding of SEL, and what does that mean for Tomahawk and our students? How does that match with that strategic plan? How does, if I'm a business partner, what does that mean for me in my business to gain employees or customers? And then the following week, we're going to do a program deep dig. So now we have our vision and our mission. Now let's look at that in depth and see how it matches. You know, we might look at a program and say, no, this is not for us. This doesn't align with our values. Or we say, oh, this is good. Let's find out more. So then the following one, then there will be reps. We'll narrow it down from 3 to 2 at that March 9th meeting. And then on March 13th, April 13th, we'll have reps from the companies also join us to cross-analyze and sell us our program. Why is this of value and how does this match what we're telling them our vision is and our needs are? And then on May 4th, we'll make a visual with a cross-analysis, pros and cons. You know, what do we like about this one? What do we don't like about that one? Are we able to focus on some units? Maybe there's a unit we don't like. We don't want to use unit 4. I mean, do you have that freedom and that customization that you can use? And then come up with a final decision. And then that implementation diagram that Teresa showed before, then that's when we will come up with our plan for implementation. And how do we prepare adults to understand and instruct it successfully so that they're all prepared for the second year when we roll it out to students. So again, we'll have that option if people can't commit to that timeline. There will be the option that people can join us for community info sessions. So how do you join it? Again, we're looking for approximately 15 to 20 committing to engage in that process so people have all the information for that decision making. And then there's this link on this form is if you want to be on that team, it will ask you if you can commit to the time, what group you represent, and your contact information. So that we want to have at least one person from each of those groups. We don't want it heavy on teachers and not business members. So if we don't get people, you know, we can get the word out and be like, hey, we're still looking for some people and recruit some more from a certain group. So we want it to be what is our community telling us that they want us and our kids to learn.
So similar to the community conversation we had, we're looking, the member, if we have a bunch of applicants, we'll go ahead and look at who represents multiple groups across our community, and then who can be there at all the meetings or the majority of the meetings. Those people will take the seat on the team first. And then we'll go from there until we fill out so we have as much representation as possible. This is already linked on the website. When you go onto the Tomahawk School District website, you go under District, Teaching and Learning, and the slide is on the left-hand side, the slide, SEL slides for tonight. And then the recording of this will also be linked on the website as well in the same place, right under the slides, once it's rendered and we get it linked.
And we'll also share it on social media so that people can access it that way.
And if you still can't, let one of us know
Yep.
and we'll get it to you.
Okay, questions. This is where you get to give us your questions. If you have a question, come up to the microphone so that other people can hear you maybe.
You might be taller or shorter. Come on up, it's okay.
If nobody has questions, I mean, we still want to encourage people, but we really hope that we get a really broad cross-section of the community so that we're getting different perspectives and considering needs of all different groups, because like Mr. Ryder said before, not everybody has the same needs, and we want to make sure that we're addressing all aspects and pockets of our community. No questions? Angie, come ask a question.
So my question is how are you going to choose a program that's going to ensure to meet all the needs of, including neurodiverse students and the students who have exceptional needs?
That is a great question.
Very good.
So as we're researching it, that would be a great, my brain's already working on how we could do a QA. So maybe, so that would be things that we'd look at when we're looking at how does it meet the needs. So we would have teacher perspective, counselor perspective, hopefully we'd have parent perspective on that, and looking at what aspects of the programs meet those needs. But now it's making me think like, oh, once we release, once we get to that point, and because people are going to be able to log in and look at it, we should have a little thing for, now you're looking at this, here's a question, like a question box where people, as they're looking at those websites, can ask questions about the curriculum. And this is linked, and those links are live too, so that you can go right from the PowerPoint and to their sites to research it. But that gives us a good another way to have input. So thank you for asking that. Because we could have like a little question box where people like, okay, I was looking at this, I'm not on the committee, but I'm wondering.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring, so we did a community roundtable in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So when you started announcing this via Facebook and Twitter or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of feedback have you, any of you received from the community?
We have got,
That hasn't been able to attend.
we've got some emails. I think offices and like administrators have got some emails and question and answers about it, but not a huge amount, but
And all just asking great questions.
yeah.
So it's great.
So I think that's going to be important though, to have like maybe a live question where people can pop that in, and so that we can bring it to the committee, because it's not a, well, Wendy thinks or Teresa thinks and are answering it, questions to bring back to the committee. We got a question from Shar, and she's wondering,